Let's get it on!
Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, is my partner in crime, the one and only Sean Ducross. John, what a huge show we have in store for everybody. But let's start off with some breaking news, that kind of took over the combat sports world early on in this afternoon when word came out that we have officially can say that we have a Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua?
No, we don't. And this is going to put a damper on a lot of people. I mean, I already took to our people at Cited. I mean, got hooked up with their beta app, so I'm feeling a little froggy right now. But the misconception here is that the fight has been agreed upon.
A 2-fight agreement.
However, there are some things that have been left out. It's been much like, I guess you could say, clickbait kind of. And by that, I mean that it was said, agreed upon, and got everybody talking and poking and everything else like that. However, the only thing that has been agreed upon is the fact that it's been agreed upon in principle. The numbers, the figures, it's a 50-50 split between both Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. But there is no contract signed between the parties, Tristan.
Correct.
There is no contract signed.
It's more of a like with between Eddie Hearn as well as Tyson Fury. It came down to the fact that they both agreed upon it, kind of like a handshake deal.
Yep.
What it is contingent on, what a lot of people are not talking about, is that it's a contingent plan based on whether or not Tyson Fury can get past Deontay Wilder, Sean. That's the hang-up.
Well, actually, there's more than just that being the hang-up. It's not just Tyson Fury trying to get past Wilder. It is also the fact that Anthony Joshua, Tristan, has to compete against the WBO mandatory competitor in Usyk, as well as the IBF mandatory contender for Joshua's IBF title in Pulev. Pulev first is the next one up, and then it's Usyk after that. He's got more of a troubling schedule than that of Wilder, than that of Fury. Fury just has to get past Wilder. You've got Joshua that has to get past two guys before he gets to Fury. So you're looking at this right now, so it's like pump your brakes, because the only fight that is maybe will fall through is the Usyk fight, because Usyk is promoted by Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn can go, yo, step aside, let's get this fight in. But then there's also another wrinkle, is Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is already a mandatory contender. Dillian Whyte has already been saying, well, where's my shot?
Yeah, this guy has been pushed aside how many times?
Right? And now there's discussion again from Eddie Hearn is that Dillian Whyte is going to fight Tyson Fury if he gets past what's his name, Wilder, in February of 2021.
Poor guy.
So we may not see Joshua versus Fury until the end of the year of 2021 if you assume both parties get past their matchups before they ever get to each other. So I love how everybody went, oh my God, this fight has been assigned, and pump your brakes.
Right.
It's all great that they agreed 50-50 split. It's great that they agreed on the financial terms, but my goodness, people, it is not reality yet.
Everybody's trying to get that next article, that next feed. And the minute you see that headline that they agreed, for us, we're like, wait a minute. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's find out about what's going on in the circle. And that's exactly what's going on. There's a lot more stuff that's going on before this fight even happens. It's cool that it's out there. It's cool that people are talking about it. because that's ultimately what everybody's been wanting to see, right?
Yep.
So we see Anthony Joshua, we see Deontay Wilder, we see Tyson Fury, we see their names pop up, and we immediately think, yes, it's exactly what we wanted. But there's a lot more nuts and bolts that goes on behind the scenes and than what is actually put out there. So I'm okay with the possibility of this fight. And I say possibility because that's exactly what it is. It's more of a possibility.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
100% guarantee. Because everything still has to line up. Everything still has to kind of unfold before our eyes. I like the fact that we have that to hang on, though. Because heavyweight boxing needs that, don't you think? That at this point, to see if you're the greatest, to see if you're the baddest heavyweight, I think we need this fight. Enough talk. Stop talking about it. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your titles where it is. And see who is the true baddest heavyweight. I mean, this isn't going to be the only heavyweight title fight that we're going to see in combat sports, because you also have Stipe Miocic and DC, which we'll probably talk a little bit later on in this show. But I just like the fact that here we are in 2020, probably looking at 2021, because you don't want this fight to happen in front of no fans.
No, and it's not. And trust me, they're not going to put this fight on in front of no fans. But the reality to this is so far-fetched right now that you look at the heavyweight division, we've been talking about it. The heavyweight division isn't what it once was. But there are still some quality fights that are lining up right now for a good era of boxing in the heavyweight division.
100%.
And these guys that are lining up, like the Dylan Whites, the potential of Ruiz again coming into the limelight. You could just do so much, so many different things that these guys are willing to put themselves out there.
Right.
So it's interesting. But my goodness, you still got a long road ahead. So it's like, it's hard really to chew on this a little bit, like everybody else is right now.
And it happens because the way you're looking at boxing, you want that next big thing. You want that next kind of almost hope, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the heavyweight boxing or boxing in general, you're kind of looking for something that is going to grab your attention, that's going to get people to talk, that's going to drive attention to boxing. Because honestly, Sean, we've been in this pandemic for what it seems like we've been pretty much in this whole entire year, have we not?
Yeah.
So in 2020, when you're thinking about, well, the possibilities were there about big-time fights and money-making options. And now you're thinking about what if, what could happen. And the possibility of a lot of these fights have now fallen on deaf ears and been pushed aside. And now we're looking into possibly 2021 before we see any of these big-name fights, because you don't want them to happen in front of a non-crowd, because you're looking at a big payoff, a big payday. You're looking at money and revenue from both sides of the card. So at some point, you gotta give and take kind of situation here.
Yeah, and it's a big give and take, because like you talked about, the parameters are so astronomical. Look, dude, you've got Anthony Joshua and you've got Tyson Fury. Right now, if they didn't have to fight the respective counterparts and they just said, you know what, let's do this fight right now, my goodness, that's 5 titles. That is 5 titles on the line.
100%.
They own all 5 titles. So you look at that and you look at the fact that you've got Joshua with 3, Tyson Fury with 2. Ridiculous. They would own, one person would unify all 5 titles. That'll be good news for the boxing world to just say, you know what, there's one champion, one guy, and he's got to take on all 10 contenders. Woo! That'll be great for boxing, man.
When you're looking at the big picture, Sean, to see Tyson Fury Wilder again, what do you think that outcome is for you? Do you see Fury being able to get past Wilder again, or do you think will do enough to get inside this?
See, and that's the big question that I asked on Cited. Was that, in all honesty, like, is this fight going to happen? And I was like, it's hard for me to fathom it. Because when you look at everything, it's like, if he doesn't defeat Wilder, he goes down 1-2.
And then does this fight realistically make sense?
No, it doesn't. When you're a 1-2, how can you justify? Because essentially, the Joshua fight has to be for the titles.
And it has to make sense money-wise as well. And to me, if you say Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua is 1-2 against Wilder, to me, it does not say that he's the best heavyweight, right?
Yeah. And if you look at that, how can you justify it? How can you justify that you're going to give a guy who's 1-2 a chance at 3 world titles? Like, nah, bro, not even.
So, Sean, again, you look at different options here that it doesn't make sense to make an announcement like Eddie Hearn did and say this is going to happen, a 2-fight agreement in 2021, when there are so many other issues that could arise.
Right.
So many issues. But we're the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. Tristan Ducross, Sean Ducross. UFC 250 went down. UFC Fight Island is announced. We have the scoop on the Fight Island, where it is, what's going down.
What our spin is on it.
Right? But we are the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. We're going to take a quick break and come back out and hit some UFC talk, some Fallout, and some Fight Island stuff that's going on. And is Fight Island actually the Fight Island? More with the Ducross Brothers, the Sports Warriors. Cross the line. We'll be right back. The Ducross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, Sean and Tristan Ducross, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking all combat sports, giving opinions on the latest news and the trends in the combat sports world. You want something different, something fresh? This is where you want to be. This is your show, your voice. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in tonight. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button if you're watching to us on YouTube. If not, then go ahead, share us, smash that like button, show your love for the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. Share us. You want something new, something different? We are your show. We talk all combat sports. We got you covered from every angle. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross. We are there. Cross the line. Thank you to our sponsor, I Love Auntie, for all your CBD needs. Go to iloveauntie.com. Use promo code DucrossBros. Get 10% off. You can get also ESPN a subscription. You can go to our Facebook, The Ducross Bros, and get our code and save a little bit of money on that on ESPN Plus. Thank you guys for tuning in to us tonight. We got an incredible show. Also, Sean, I keep forgetting. I'm not used to this. We have a huge guest on our show
that we had a chance to sit down with earlier today.
Mind completely blown. We had to do this interview. We had to, right?
Yeah.
We saw this and we thought, man, we haven't done an interview. We haven't brought on any guests. And trust me, people have been asking to try to come on our show. And we weren't 100% sure on how we could do it or anything like that because we had a new setup, new gear. And quite frankly, we couldn't get it to work originally. But I was able to figure out a workaround. And today we were able to work with it. And we have a huge guest on our show from E-Kick. If you don't know, you'll know tonight what E-Kick is, right?
Yep.
And we'll get into that a little bit later, but UFC 250 happened. And
do you want to talk about 250 first, or do you want to get into Fight Island and then go to 250?
Let's get into the Fight Island. Let's get into the Fight Island first. Fight Island is announced. It is in Abu Dhabi at Yas Island. And it's funny because everybody's like, oh my God, it's Abu Dhabi. Oh my God, UFC's Yas Island. You do realize that they've been there before, right?
Right. 3 different times.
Right.
Again, it's not that big of a deal, people.
No, it is not. They made this Fight Island thing, this biggest thing. They made it sound like it was going to be incredible. And it still might be, because
it's Abu Dhabi.
Right. Not just that it's Abu Dhabi. They're talking about basically a fighter's hub in Abu Dhabi on Yas Island. And
on the beach.
Basically, no, the only thing that's going to be on the beach is an octagon to train. Not where the fights are going to be. So if you thought that it was going to be like Mortal Kombat, nope, you're wrong. If you're thinking that it was going to be like Bodog, you are wrong. Where there was palm trees and everything else, you are wrong. It ain't going to happen.
Because the venue itself, and I say venue because it's going to look, from reports, it's going to look eerily similar to what the Apex Center looks like in Las Vegas.
Looks kind of cool.
So they're making headway over there in Abu Dhabi and getting this all situated and looking legit and everything else like that. But the fact is that it's going to look like the Apex Center. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing because the Apex Center looks beautiful. I mean, the way they've got the production lined up, it looks great.
Look at this. See if I could get this going here. This is ideally a concept art of what this is like the concept art that what it's going to look like, the UFC in Abu Dhabi. Kind of cool, right? I kind of like it, kind of dig it. And also they'll have, like I said, they'll have an octagon on the beach for training. But basically I swear, it's like the UFC is listening to every single thing that everybody is saying about how they can put on a presentation.
See, Tristan, if it really looks like this,
yes.
If it really looks like this is fitting for what Abu Dhabi really looks like.
100% agree.
Because if you look at some of the stuff in Abu Dhabi or on Yas Island, like, let me just throw something out there for you, okay? On Yas Island, you have the Ferrari World, which holds the world's fastest roller coaster. They've got Yas Water World. They got Warner Brothers World, which is has theme lands, dude, of like Gotham City, Metropolis. Like, my God.
What's interesting, though, is that what I was saying is that UFC seems to be listening to everything, right? Because you have to still have fighters isolated.
Yeah.
Something that Top Rank did, and they just had a card on ESPN, remember?
Which is on my notes to talk about here soon.
Yep. But what they did was they created a top-ranked boxing bubble. So where you would go in, all the fighters would show up at a certain time. They would check in at a certain time. They would all be escorted up to their hotel rooms where they would be tested and left. You could only go from point A to point B if you're eating dinner. You can only go from point A to point B if you're going to train. UFC has created a fighters hub. Again, we talked last week about fighters camp that could be happening in London, right?
Yeah.
So they're taking a little bit of everything. So fighters will be ushered in a sanitized car to the building, to a hotel room, escorted to a back elevator away from everybody, ushered up to their hotel room where a floor will be dedicated to them and where they will be left alone. They can only go from the hotel room to training on the beach. They can only go from the hotel room to dining. They will be escorted to make sure that nobody is anywhere in contact with fighters. Basically, they're going to be like kind of like chaperone the whole entire time.
But you want to know what, Tristan? Is like that all sounds great and dandy, and they're going to their first fight. We have a date, July 11th. It'll have 3 title fights. It'll have Usman versus Burns, who people are absolutely like ripping a new one because it's like, how did Gilbert Burns get the title shot? We'll see what he did to Tyrone Woodley. And the fact that he's willing to compete against his own teammate. Volkanovski defends his title against Max Holloway in a rematch. Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. Great card for Abu Dhabi. I mean, there's no questions asked about it. However,
You had to go all out.
let's get into the negativity of it, okay? Because, yes, there is a lot of negativity. You're wondering why the UFC has not been back in Abu Dhabi. And I say that because they signed a long-term agreement with the Abu Dhabi Entertainment. Previously a 5-year deal. They only had 3 fights. They didn't even have any 2 other fights to it. And that was mainly because of the rules and regulations that they have for females.
Yes.
They're very harsh in that society about females. You can't wear certain things or whatever it may be. So they didn't go back. It didn't. The way that they wanted to promote their fight cards, Abu Dhabi was putting limitations and restrictions on it. So what makes it any different this time around? Or are you just that desperate to create Fight Island that you'll do whatever Abu Dhabi says? And if that's the case, then bravo for you doing it. The other negative thing is it's happening in July. July in Abu Dhabi is the second hottest month of the year. And you're asking them to basically fight in a makeshift hangar in Abu Dhabi.
In over 115-degree heat.
We saw how awkward it was when LFA fought on the hangar in what? Orange County? I forgot exactly. And if I'm wrong, sorry about that. But how sweaty and sticky you get.
We've even seen the issues where WWE goes over into the Middle East and with the heat and the sweating. And they've been outside. And if that was an issue for their wrestlers, I can only imagine what it will be like for fighters inside of a cage.
Yeah.
Oh, Titan FC. I think is what you were talking about.
Oh, not LFA.
I think that's what you were talking about. Just dawned on me.
But either way, you get the premise behind it.
Yes.
You get the premise behind it. Promotions did it on a hanger, and it was just awkward, sticky. It looked uncomfortable. The fighters were uncomfortable. It just was not a good night or good look at all.
So what did you think about UFC 250? UFC 250 happened too over the weekend. We had Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. You talk about negativity. How about the negativity that's coming up about that? About, again, another fighter's corner being called into question about whether or not they should have thrown in the towel. Felicia Spencer, that was a one-sided, lopsided fight by Amanda Nunes, Sean.
It was. And the thing that sucked about that fight was that the announcers were so adamant about how the fact was that, Felicia Spencer had 12 weeks worth of camp. Then why did Felicia Spencer look so disinterested, look so defeated in the first round? And the fact is that she half-assed every takedown. She was not committed at all. And that is a horrible look.
Again, I look at this is, I'm not going to try to knock a fighter or anything like that, but look, when you are in a title fight, right? Yeah. I don't care what's going on in your mind or anything like that, because you know when you step inside that cage, your mind has to be 100% right going into there.
Absolutely.
And there's been a lot of fighters that have stepped inside that cage and we know the bright lights show up and you don't show. We've seen it. But then I also look at the corners and think that, well, the corners should have had something right to try to get their fighter prepared. I don't know if it was the corner that was an issue or if it was the fighter that was an issue.
I think you could say it was both, because the corner was heard saying, just stick to your game plan. Just stick to your game plan. What game plan was that?
Yeah, because when I see the corner and I hear the corner saying, stick to the game plan, stick to the game plan, and then I'm watching literally the fighter look like you are uninterested in engaging, or you're unsure of what the next kind of positioning. It looked like she was thinking inside of her head most of the fight.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking most of the time inside your fight, you ain't going to engage 90% of the time.
No, you're going to go ahead and get checked out. And it's like, when you look at Amanda Nunes and you see how phenomenal she is, and yes, we know last week we said that Felicia Spencer was going to win. We get it.
I was hoping that she would, because we saw that she was durable, right? We knew that she could take punches. There's no question about that. There's no question about right. There's no question about her toughness. I was thinking that, well, the blueprint's out there on Amanda Nunes. I figured that if you could take her to the distance and still manage to push the pace, showcase the wrestling, and be able to kind of muster some kind of will, you could secure the win by taking it the distance and just kind of being there and just kind of showing your muster to it. But when you looked like that you didn't belong there, and Amanda Nunes just over and over again, just peppering you, just destroying you on your feet, every aspect of the fight was Amanda Nunes. Call it what you want. Whether you liked the main event, you didn't like the main event, it was one-sided. I thought the fight 100% should have been stopped in the third round, no later than the fourth round. Too much damage to her.
You could have even stopped it in the second round.
Yeah. At what point do you save the fighter from themselves?
Yeah.
At what point?
But see, the thing though is like, so here's my thinking, okay? And I thought about it after the fight. I thought about it just now. So you look at it and you say, okay, Amanda Nunes, the GOAT. And I can say that strongly. She's the GOAT.
Yes.
She's perhaps the single-handedly the best female mixed martial artist ever in the game. But isn't her style starting to remind you a little bit of GSP? When GSP started to get way too comfortable, his fight started to last a little bit longer, or he started to look a little bit disinterested, whatever it may be. Amanda Nunes, to me, looked like Felicia Spencer was way outclassed, way outmatched for her, and she simply toyed with her for 5 rounds. She had no interest of finishing Felicia Spencer. All she wanted to do was just have fun. And that was put a beating on another person.
And I think that's a problem that we're going to see right now in the bantamweight division and the featherweight division.
There's nobody competitive for her.
Yeah, there's nobody competitive.
And if you say that, it's like the announcer said.
And I'm sorry to all the women out there, but that's just the reality.
And if you look at it, like Megan Anderson was they took a shot at Megan Anderson. And I was on the hype train of Megan Anderson.
Because I thought Megan Anderson had the tall stature, had the length, the reach. And if she's able to, again, almost pull a Holly Holm kind of like point match system where you can kind of out jab, out box,
and keep the
distance, and kind of put a game plan that way, I think that she could possibly pose a threat.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at Amanda Nunes and the strength, the raw power, and
the fact that
this girl is a workhorse through and through, and I just don't see anybody right now that can put in the work that wants to be better than Amanda Nunes, because you're going to almost have to have an out-of-body experience to take out Amanda Nunes at this point.
And apparently in 12 weeks isn't enough.
No.
But Aljamain Sterling, a.k.a. the Funk Master, looked awfully little funky. I mean, the fact that he put out Sandhagen in dramatic fashion, staked his claim, and it made it perfectly clear that, dude, he should be the guy fighting Peter Yan, not Jose Aldo.
But I still like the fact that, Sean, you got Jose Aldo and Peter Yan for the bantamweight title, right? It gives the title credibility because you got Sean O'Malley and Sterling, and I said that what would be an amazing fight would be Sterling versus O'Malley.
But that's
for the winner against Jose Aldo and Peter Yan.
But Tristan, that is a drastic jump up in competition for Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley's good, and that knockout was beautiful. A thing of
that
beauty.
feint and the hit with the right, beautiful.
But for him to jump up and face Aljamain Sterling, not quite yet. I mean, you could probably potentially put Cody Garbrandt versus Aljamain Sterling
for a possible shot at the bantamweight title?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's.
I mean, he did kill Rafael Assunção.
Yeah, he did.
Dude, is it just me, or did he kind of look like he was posing? Like on the cage? Like, dude, I see what you're trying to do.
I see it coming.
I see it coming. I'm just going to pause real quick like it was in slow motion against the cage, and then swung with everything with his might with that right, and almost took the head and spun it around off of Rafael Assunção's head like it was the Exorcist, and it was the nastiest knockout I've seen.
Yeah, it was a good one. But at what point is enough with Neil Magny? This guy has done everything that the UFC has asked him to do in the welterweight division. He has the second most wins in the welterweight division behind GSP with 16 wins. This guy has over 20 wins as a mixed martial artist. He has not had one title fight, but yet the guy on his resume has a win over Carlos Condit, Johnny Hendricks, Hector Lombard, Kelvin Gastelum. He had fight of the night against Kelvin Gastelum. He had performance of the night against Hector Lombard. What does this guy have to do to get his shot? How is he not in the UFC rankings? Granted, the UFC rankings is garbage, but how is he not in the rankings of the UFC? But yet you've got guys like Robbie Lawler, who's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Granted, he's fought way higher level of UFC ranked opponents. Or what about the fact that Jeff Neal, who's ranked number 11, is 13-2? Granted, 13-2, but 20 plus wins. Granted, Jeff Neal is 5-0 and all finishes. And Neil Magny doesn't necessarily finish a lot of people. But still, I digress. How is Neil Magny, a guy who's been consistent performer, still not getting his due?
Yep.
Seriously. Give him Jeff Neal then. Let's see his worth. Let's see if Jeff Neal can really go 6-0. Give him Jeff Neal and let's call it a day, people. That fight, I wouldn't mind seeing.
So, UFC 250, Sean, went down, and it wasn't that bad. I mean,
it wasn't that bad, except for the main event. Could have been stopped sooner.
Absolutely. So, we're the Ducross brothers, the Sports Warriors, Tristan Ducross. Wow, really? Not even touching that. We are the Ducross brothers, Sports Warriors, Tristan Ducross, Sean Ducross. Cross the line. Combat Sports Talk Show. A little bit different. Hope you guys enjoy. Smash that like button. Share us. Show your love. In the meantime, coming up next, huge interview. Huge interview. If you don't know what E-Kick is, you will know soon. Your boys, the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors, have an interview with Edward Sampson and Mark Goldstein. You don't want to miss. Stay locked right here. The Ducross Brothers are the Sports Warriors with Sean and Tristan Ducross. A combat sports talk show like no other. Taking headlines and fallouts of UFC, MMA, pay-per-views, you name it, we got you covered from all sides of the spectrum. To professional wrestling, MMA, Muay Thai, and something special. More with the Ducross Brothers every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Sean and Tristan Ducross. Cross the line. All right, guys. It is about that time. Huge interview. E-Kick.
Extreme Kumite International Championship.
That was like a mouthful, Sean.
A little bit.
But Edward Sampson and Mark Goldston, the president, CEO, and the executive vice president, joined the Ducross brothers. We're back in the game with the interviews. We thank their time, and hopefully you guys enjoy the interview. Welcome to the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. We are here with Edward Sampson, the CEO and the president of E-Kick. We also have Mark Goldstein, the executive vice president, chief strategy and operations officer, with us today with Sean and Tristan Ducross. Edward or Mark, explain to us a little bit about how E-Kick came about.
Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead, Edward.
Mark, you sound a little bit clearer. Go ahead, and I'll speak
Okay.
after you do.
About a little over a year ago, Ed had called me about what he wanted to do. He was doing bare knuckle boxing, and he was interested in getting assistance in setting up a new league or a new organization. I met Edward through a colleague of mine, and we talked for a little bit, a month or so, and then decided that we were going to move forward. I got involved with it to set up a structure for what he wanted to do. Then after about 6 months, we named it. It took a little bit naming it, back and forth between myself, Edward, and our other partner for about 2.5 weeks to come up with E-Kick. The name and the strategies as we've been going forward, we've been evolving the concept. You know, we want to treat the fighters fairly, want to make sure they're compensated. It's not about us only making money. It's about everybody making money and everybody having things to do after their career. So we're going into other areas of entertainment, such as film and TV, and inviting the fighters who stay with us to come in also.
How did you guys come about with the name?
The name? Okay. That was interesting because my other partner, Jeff Arcio, wanted to have something with extreme in it. So, and Kumite is something that is a martial arts term. We don't want to sound like everybody else using MMA because we're not like everybody else. So the international part came in afterward because we are not going to be just US based. And championships is really where it's at. People are fighting to win something and be acknowledged. So it became about E-Kick was Extreme Kumite International Championships, and we trademarked it.
When you guys talk about wanting to be different, and you bring up bare knuckle background, you bring up the Kumite, and the thinking behind Kumite is that it's like underground. Bare knuckle was kind of underground. Is that kind of the environment that you want to bring back to the world of combat sports?
We want to bring back an authentic version of it, but I don't think we're going to be underground because we have to be sanctioned. I mean, if we get our own arena that we own, we'll decorate it like that, but we're going to abide by whatever regulations are applicable to have the sport move forward.
When can we see the first event?
I would say towards the last quarter because of the COVID situation. We're hoping to have an event where we can have attendees, but if it doesn't evolve into that by that time, we will stage an event, probably do pay-per-view ticketing that way, and have, you know, abide by the health requirements to have the events.
Now, what intrigued you with the name Kumite? Because when I first saw Kumite and I saw the name of it, I immediately thought blood sport. And then you guys just mentioned that maybe if you guys got your own arena, you would kind of decorate it different. Is that also a vision that you guys kind of see going forward?
That would be something that I would like to do. I don't know if Ed, how he wants to decorate it, but I'm fine with it. Whatever makes people happy to come in and want to hang out in there, we'll put it up on the wall, whatever, rocks, whatever, seating. But one idea is that we don't want to have a traditional ring. We want to have it open where it can be viewed.
So you're going to have it open ring inside of an arena or somewhere. The expectations are very high for E-Kick coming out. Edward has made some very bold statements with the standards of E-Kick. Where did those standards kind of come for?
We decided that you're talking about how we treat the fighter, that standard?
Correct, yes. The trust, the integrity, the honesty.
Well, that's how I normally do business and Edward does. So we're carrying it over from our experience in business and the way we work with people into the fight sport. There's no reason to deviate and do what other people do. We have to do what we feel is right, and that means accommodating everybody. We want this to be pleasurable for the people involved. You go to the website, you're going to see brand ambassadors, you're going to see advisory boards. We want to form relationships. We let people come in, we promote them, and then they want to get more involved. So we're building the organization, I believe, the right way.
It sounds like you guys are building it the right way in an era that seems like those are key ingredients that are missing. There's only been kind of select few that kind of preach those type of phrases still in mixed martial arts, because when you talk about mixed martial arts, those are everything you associate mixed martial arts with. And I think everybody's kind of deviated from that. So it's great to see that you guys are trying to bring that culture back. Have you guys already had conversations with some higher end level mixed martial artists that would name value, or are you guys looking for guys to give more of a chance to?
Well, going forward, we have known martial artists that have accomplished careers wanting to come in with us, I guess because of the environment that we have going on right now in sports, in fight sports. So that being said, we are going to work with whoever is applicable for our company in the beginning. But our overall goal is to develop our own fighters, sort of like the baseball teams do. They have the farm leagues, let them qualify there and move them up a couple of levels until they become ready to be professionals. This way they know us, we've worked with them, they're engaged. We can work with them on other aspects of their career in addition to just the fight side, merchandising, endorsement deals, and then also possibly film and TV later on. So I really believe in development. But we're not going to eliminate people because they're not with us from the beginning. They've already had a career. If they really want to do something, we'll try to work it out with them.
Sky seems to be the limit.
The Duke Cross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, here with Edward Sampson as well as Mark Goldstein. Edward Sampson is the CEO and the president of E-Kick, and Mark Goldstein is the executive vice president, talking about the new blood sport coming to the America as well as overseas, the international. You guys have been calling the talent prize fighters. Again, these are names that were synonymous when we're talking about years in the past, and something that we don't see. Like, people don't want to call championships. They want to call them titles. And now you're bringing it back to word prize fighters. Why is it unique to you guys to kind of rebrand what was originally mixed martial arts or combat sports in general with these terms?
Well, I think because so many people's really got off mark with it. And that's exactly how this whole story began with the sport, is those terms. And so what we want to try and recapture is sort of take the authenticity of the sport and mix it with today's environment and technology and some of the bigger distribution channels, and make it a good, fun, engaging experience for everybody to watch and see. You know, these things, even though they sound like harsh words, and you know, public opinion has their own opinions of their own, but in reality, I mean, there's nothing illegal we're doing. You know, that is what it is, and we're not doing underground fighting. Everything we're doing is on the professional level. Very, very professional. We're working with some of the highest qualified professionals in the sports world on this. So I think it's a great thing. We've got a great team of people behind us. We've got Mark Hamilton, a former vice president of production with WWE. We've got Doug LeBeau. He was a former WWE guy. Mark Keys, another former WWE. Gene DeFrancesca, Mike Ramiro, Lance Foreman, dog boxer. We got Elenia Maxwell, Kung Lee, Sunny Singh, Samantha Goldberg, Ira Glass. I mean, these people, these are big names. These people, Joe Dotseth and Matt Martucci. I mean, these people have been in the industry for years, and we wanted to make something different than everybody else is doing, and that different happens to be how the sport originally began, and so that's why we're doing it the way we are.
And it makes sense because if you look at the rise of like bare knuckle, that took off on like it's a leg of its own. As soon as it came out, it just rose to the top, and it gave other people that other aspect of a martial art or boxing for that matter that you didn't see for quite some time. Now you guys have an opportunity to fill the void on both spectrums that you've heard about, but you haven't seen it. And I think that's what's going to intrigue the fight fan is, again, something else that they've heard, but they necessarily have never seen it physically.
Right. And here's the thing. It's a two-part deal. So one side of it is to make a spectacular show that everybody wants to see to entertain the whole world. The other side of it is the professional side and the sports side, which is to get both of these sports, not only legalized, but prominently unique as their own unique sport, just like Major League Baseball differentiates from NFL. And the same should go with boxing and bare knuckle boxing and kumite. So we really wanted to bring some higher level officials and professionals in to help us raise the sport to that level of professionalism. Not that any of the other guys out there that's doing it isn't doing their job. We just want to raise the standards a little bit and really make this sport internationally, brand new again. So, and it's definitely the right time, and people's hungry for a new fight promotion. I think we have some exciting things to offer. We have a great promotion that, anybody would want to fight under. It doesn't matter the name. We're talking to a lot of big names, and if you keep your eye out on our website over the next couple of weeks, you're going to start seeing a lot of bigger names going up as well. But it's really about building, something for the fans and something that's long-term for the athletes and fighters themselves. So we think it's a great concept, and hopefully everything works out for the fighters and fans. And if it does, we will be very happy.
The Ducross brothers here with Edward Sampson, CEO and president of E-Kick, as well as Mark Golson, executive vice president, joining the Ducross brothers, Sean and Tristan here. Edward, I want to ask you real quick. I from the way that you're talking and the energy that you're exuding with you explaining to us about E-Kick, do you believe that this is another evolution kind of combat sports?
This is it, my friend. I think we're living in it. I think we're seeing it, and we're witnessing it right now. It's unfolding before our eyes. Look around at the tides are changing. Look at some of the issues and problems that some of the other promotions are having around the world. So I think it's a perfect time for a great promotion to come along that's structured properly, with some of the key areas where the other promotions either lacked or failed, with a better structure and opportunities for the athletes themselves. And just the uniqueness of it with covering the three sports with the entertainment aspect. I really do. I not only myself do I think it's the next big thing, but, it's amazing when you get on the phone with some of the biggest producers in the world, biggest producers in Hollywood, to some of the biggest networks, major networks, and they're just flabbergasted by it. And that makes you feel good at the end of the day. It makes you feel like you've done your job, but your job is not complete yet. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but at least for now, we've got a good, solid foundation. We definitely have the right people involved. We have a lot of the right people that are still coming in, and it's drawing a lot of attention. And I think the combat sports world is in for a big surprise. And we're coming, bringing it to all four corners of the world.
Edward, when you talk about production and you talk about, you named off some WWE guys, like what's your guys' vision over there for the production that when eventually we do see you guys on pay-per-view or TV, do you guys already have a vision of what everything's going to look for, like production value-wise? Is it going to look more like on the edge of a WWE production with all the lighting,
Well,
the screens?
we have a perfect vision, but we're going to leave that vision to ourselves, and we're going to leave your imagination and your fans' imagination to run wild. And just look at the board. Look at some of the members on the board, and it should paint you a picture. But I think they're going to be over the top events. That's what we're hoping for. I can't guarantee nothing because I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can tell you, with the right people that we have involved, I think we're going to get nothing short but high quality events.
Edward, and all the brand ambassadors that you guys are getting on board with E-Kick right now, like you said, there's some heavy hitters. And when you look at the list, and and the list is lengthy, like you said,
There's more coming.
Was it an easy sell to them?
Let me tell you something. Here's the thing about all this. What's amazing. It is, it's a lot of work to put not just a single fight promotion together, but to put 3 different disciplines of a promotion together, plus an entertainment side with so many different arms and legs to it, So, when you get some of these guys on the phone and they, you explain to them what you've done or what you're doing to achieve, they're, they want on board. They want to help any way they can. It seems like, everything, as much work as it's been, everything has went as smooth as can be. It really has. I mean, the people we're working with and talking to, it's not a sales pitch. We're talking to these people about working together and how to make this sport and this franchise and brand bigger and better than some of the others. It's teamwork. They're not calling for a paycheck. They're not.
Edward, and I think you touched on it a little bit there just now, and I was a little iffy about it because it is kind of a sensitive subject. But if you don't want to answer it, I'll understand. But you mentioned fighter pay, and that's been a big talk for the last 2 weeks here now, with certain situations going on with another other organization that is becoming very public. How are you guys going to differ from what's going on over on the other side of the spectrum to let the fighters know that
we care about you?
Yeah, and that the pay is going to be different.
So I don't know why. So I'm sorry, guys. It was Edward Simpson. I messed up on the name. I haven't done this in a couple of years, so I apologize. That's on me. I don't know why there was an audio issue towards the end of the clip, but I will put it up, and it's entirely up on YouTube, so you guys can go ahead and grab that at your leisure and enjoy the interview, because E-Kick is Extreme Kumite International Championship, which is something freaking amazing, because again, it brings back some old school nostalgia kind of thing that we've been all looking forward to. Again, combat sports kind of like an evolution in the world right now that we're kind of living in right now.
Yeah,
we got bare knuckle that's out there. So why not kind of change the landscape of combat sports again?
Yeah, and you're talking about Kumite, and you're talking about like I said in the interview, it's kind of like a little bit of an underground. It's and it's to them it's not underground, to them
because it will be sanctioned. Yeah. They can understand why we were saying that it was about the underground, because when we think about Kumite, you think about blood sport. You think about that. So at the end of the day, we're going to see something like Bloodsport. So we got to let your imagination go, because the way that the visuals are for us, we're thinking about something that's prize fight. There's going to be no cage. It's going to be an open platform. So let that sink in. Open platform. But yeah, E-Kick is going to be incredible.
Yeah, and we're looking to bring on a couple more people from E-Kick here in the next couple weeks to continue to talk about this new movement. Like I talked to them about the fact that bare knuckle has taken on a life of its own. It seems like the combat world is embracing that and wants a new wave, a new combat introduction. And what better way for this is to introduce Kumite to the mainstream media, to introduce another form of bare knuckle. It's going to be interesting. The fact that Kung Lee is a brand ambassador says a lot.
There's so many
brand ambassadors. They've got more people coming down the pipeline.
And the brand ambassadors will be coming on our show as well.
So stay tuned for this movement, this thought process with
well, it's more like a pit. Valor BK, totally different. No cage and ring, yes, but it's like a circle, and it's essentially in a pit. Kind of deal.
If you're
I'm looking at a platform like Bloodsport,
but if you're going off of visuals, Valor BK is probably the one that you can closely compare to what your visual might be.
I guess so.
That if you compare like you said, Bloodsport,
dude, I want to see the stance,
or
like
what about
brick and stuff like that, and fans sitting up.
So let me put this in perspective, okay? Valor BK meets Bloodsport meets Karate Combat.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's a visual that I think you should
fusion together.
Yes. Let that thing sink in about what this may visually look like.
Speaking about visually real quick before we run out of time and get out of here, what did you think visually of Top Rank Boxing coming back to ESPN?
Okay, so the fact that the commentators were not in the same arena as the fights were going on,
definitely different,
and they're trying to connect them all together, was a little bit awkward and a little bit uncomfortable at times, because like you had them trying to accidentally stepping on the commentators' toes over here or over there. They weren't synced. It's like as if they weren't really hearing each other at times. But I thought the look of Top Rank was great.
I like the visual where everything kind of behind him spelled out like it was Top Rank.
Again, Tristan, that's the Ring of Honor type of look that wrestling has adopted.
With that hard camera.
Yeah, that has adopted that they went, oh, that looks good presentation-wise. So if WWE is using it, if AEW is using it, then let's see what that looks like for us. And visually, it looked great. You were more on top of the action. Like when Shakira Stevenson landed that left hook to the body.
How
you
good
heard
did
the
he
singing.
look? How good
Thud,
did he look?
He looked great. I'm just not sure how they continue to pump him up as the next Floyd Mayweather or Adrian Bronner. I don't know that yet, but he's got a very, very bright
just
future.
joined Elite Company. Elite Company. He is now the third American in 30 years to win a championship, win a gold medal, and is undefeated. Third American in 30 years, joining Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather. That's incredible feat.
And the thing, like I said, was that this was a showcase of young up-and-coming fighters. Stevenson, or the fact that you had Jared Anderson, who knocked out his fourth opponent and looked great. Boxing technique-wise was solid. Work to the body, work to the head, looked for the
That
uppercut.
body shot that dropped Caballo, woo, that was something nice.
So, but that was Stevenson. I'm talking about Jared Anderson. He was a heavyweight who fought Langston.
Yeah.
Those two were going toe-to-toe in that fight. Langston landed some good shots, but Jared Anderson just did enough. He was the crisper, cleaner striker out of the two. Bright future for the heavyweight division with Jared Anderson coming up. You also got Guido Vanello. Wow, that's hard for me. But he dispatched his opponent in the first round. The heavyweight division is very bright. Guido is 7-0. Jared is 4-0. The other interesting thing was, the ring announcer was outside of the cage, and he was off in his own like isolated area. But it was funny because he was doing his ring announcing, and they would show him, and then he had two ring girls like 6 feet behind him.
Yes.
One on the left, one on the right. I was like, all right, that's kind of interesting if you ask me. But it was good. I enjoyed what I saw. It was a great night of fights.
We'll see on the go forward because they still got a couple more cards to go for top ranking ESPN. So, in the meantime, we are the Ducross Brothers. We're signing off. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross. Again, apologies to Edward Simpson for getting his name wrong and not catching it. But we'll get the interview up after the show in its entirety on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Sports Warriors. You can get the interview up there. We'll also put the link down in the description so you can tag it. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in to us. Wednesday nights is looking like it's going to be our time slot for the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. In the meantime, I Love Auntie. Thank you for sponsoring us. ESPN Plus, shout out. Go to iloveauntie.com. Use promo code DucrossBros. Save 10% on your CBD needs. ESPN promo code is on our Facebook, The Ducross Bros. Enjoy. Love you guys. Catch you guys on the flip side.
Let's get it on! Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.